So, over the past several weeks, or several months rather, I have developed reasonable suspicion that the General Motors design team might actually be on crack during the design process of their vehicles. Now, please allow me to present several bits of evidence that I have compiled in order to reinforce this claim. Now, obviously, Exhibit A would be the facelifted 2019 Camaro. I have gone over this in previous videos, so I'm not going to spend that much time on it. Also, it's honestly not really the subject of this video. You probably already know what the subject of this video is going to be. But in all honesty, I really don't have much to say about the design of this car. Quite frankly, because I don't know what to say about the design of this car. I don't think anyone knows what to say about this car's design. When Chevy revealed the new facelift for the Camaro, everyone was just kind of left speechless. Like, no one really knew what to make out of it. I don't think GM even really knows what to make out of it. The one thing that I can make out of it, though, is the fact that it literally looks like they took the old design and just slashed it right down the middle, slapped on a black plastic bit, and then threw on the Chevy logo. It literally looks like there's a part of the car missing, and they're just trying to make up for it with some black plastic. What I really don't understand about this car is that the lower models of the Camaro, like the 1LE, RS, all the V6 and 4-cylinder models, their design doesn't look that bad. But if you want the SS, if you want the V8, you gotta drive around with this thing. Really an unfortunate trade-off, if you ask me. I'm not entirely sure if this car has been released yet. I know it's supposed to be released in the fall of 2018. Maybe just dealerships haven't been allowing it to enter their showroom floors. But I have yet to see one. And the day I do see one will most likely be the day that I rear-end someone. So, for the sake of my MX-5's front end, I hope that I don't see one anytime soon. Now we move on to what is more or less the main subject of this video, the 2020 Chevy Silverado. Now, by no means am I a truck person. I'm not in the trucks. They're just not my thing. In my opinion, the Silverado already really wasn't the best looking truck on the planet, but it wasn't really disturbing to look at. But the 2020 Silverado, my god, what the hell happened to this thing? So the first thing that I can take away from the design of this truck is the fact that the whole front end looks like it's just been flipped over. Like, the top half looks like it belongs on the bottom half, and the bottom half looks like it belongs on the top half. But, to be fair, Chevy is not the only car company that's been doing this. Recently, the Hyundai Kona has sported the same awkward and discomforting flipped over design, having tiny ass headlights on top and big ass fog lights on the bottom. And the now defunct, thank god, Nissan Juke has also sported the same design. The only logical explanation I can come up with to design a car this way is the fact that, at least I'm 99% sure, that in the United States, it's against the law to have LED fog lights. You have to have halogen fog lights. So LED bulbs really don't have to be that big in order to emit a substantial amount of light, as with halogen light bulbs have to be a bit bigger in order to emit the same amount of light that an LED would. So when you're designing the headlight housings, you don't really need to make the headlights that big because you don't really need a big bulb. But if you can only use halogen lights for the fog lights, you have to make the fog light housings a little bit bigger than you would for an LED bulb. Because like I said, the halogen bulbs have to be bigger in order to emit a sufficient amount of light in order to light the roadway ahead. But I mean, this is not the way to go about this situation. I assure you, there are much better ways to design a car in order to comply with this regulation. Back to GM, this whole flipped over design really takes me back to the Pontiac Aztek, which, as you all know, has received less than critical acclaim for its design over the years. I actually photoshopped the front end of the Aztek of like 4 years ago or so and tried to make it look a little better. I'll flash it up on the screen real quick. But for some reason, GM seems to be wanting to go back to this design method. Why? I couldn't tell you. Right, now let's talk about the lights on the front of this thing. Like, why are there so many? Looking at this thing, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 lights on the front of this thing. What production vehicle needs 10 lights? What this essentially says to me is that people will no longer have the need for aftermarket light bars. People will be able to buy a truck from the showroom floor and drive it on the street at night and blind Miata drivers, i.e. me, without having to do any aftermarket modifications. I mean, the Z71 package has 8 lights. Still slightly above the industry standard. But the 2500, like, why? Let's take a look at this for a second. We have what I believe to be the main headlights. Then we have 3 housings for fog lights or auxiliary lights. I'm not sure what they are. Then we have 2 fog lights on the bottom. And just to spice it up a little bit, we have an LED accent light on the headlights and an LED accent light on the fog lights or aux lights or whatever the hell they are. Also, there are 2 lights on each mirror. Why do the mirrors need 2 lights? My only guess could be maybe one is a turn signal and maybe one is like an auxiliary light for towing. Yeah, like you turn them on to let people know, like, hey, I'm towing something. But you know for a fact that people who buy this thing are going to use them the exact same way they use extended tow mirrors. They're going to turn them on just because they can. And the mirrors, like, what's happening with the mirrors? They're bendy boys. Why are the mirrors bendy boys? What was the issue with the mirrors that they were using in every other Silverado to ever exist? Why did they feel the need to have to move them down 5 inches? Yet essentially keep the actual mirror in the same position that it was in every other Silverado model. But that's not what gets me about these mirrors. Not by a long shot. What really gets me about these mirrors is the fact that it's blatantly obvious that they were literally like the last thing they came up with during the design process. They still have the black plastic bit sitting there where the original mirrors would have gone. And somewhere during the whole process, a General Motors employee or custodian or some dude named Greg that keeps hanging around the back alley of the office that they can't get rid of came in and was like, no, you gotta move the mirrors down like 5 inches. So, they moved the mirrors down like 5 inches, and they just kept the plastic part that would have housed the original mirrors. Oh, how much could it have possibly cost to either just paint the thing black, or body color, or just add a little bit of extra window there? I have the utmost certainty that if someone were to take a screwdriver or something, at least in their early production model, and pry that plastic bit off, you will find a hole there where they were originally going to put the mirrors. Yet another design cue that I really can't wrap my head around with this truck. I mean, visibility, maybe, but if it's for visibility, you have a black plastic piece where the arm of the mirror would have been anyway. So you're not really getting any extra visibility out of this. You're just getting a bent mirror and a piece of black plastic. Let's move back over to the front fascia, be the grille, and it is absolutely massive. This is like hands down the biggest grille on a production truck I have ever seen. It's probably one of the biggest grills on a truck with the exceptions of semi-trucks that I have ever seen. On the 2500 heavy duty model you have the massive grille with chrome accents, and then you have a chrome garnish with the Chevy logo as well as heavy duty logos on either side, or maybe it's just one side. Yeah, it's just one side. Then on the Z71 trim you have the massive grille painted black, and then you have this brushed aluminum garnish with a gigantic Chevy logo on it. Pickup truck logos have been getting pretty big over the years, and before this, Ram had the biggest logo on the front of their trucks, but I think Chevy might take the cake here. It's like Chevy saw what the Ram looked like, and they're like, no, we need to have a bigger grille and a bigger logo. We cannot be out-grilled and out-logoed by Chrysler. I can only imagine how that board meeting must have went. It's like this front fascia just has to scream to the person in the Miata that they're about to blind with their 8 to 10 headlights. Hey, I drive a Chevy Silverado, and I'm gonna make you damn well aware of it. Not that the person in front of them is gonna be able to see it anyway after they get high-beamed. The wheels are really not that noteworthy. They're just chrome and overly designed, and the wheels on the Z71 model are typical truck wheels, I guess. The back end is alright. It's really nothing really that bad about it, except that it also has a gigantic Chevy logo. So the person behind them will also be very aware that they're driving a Chevy. Now, as unsettling as the 2020 Silverado may be, it's definitely not the only General Motors vehicle that's been a victim of these questionable design methods. Let's take the Cadillac XT4, for example. Honestly, it's not awful looking. It's just not good looking. It's very far from good looking. The whole front of it just looks really over-designed, especially the gigantic LED accent lights. If they were to just stop the accent lights right where the headlight ends at the bottom of it, it'd look perfectly fine. And maybe make that vent a little smaller, but same thing on the back too. If they were to just stop the accent lights right where the actual taillight ends, it wouldn't look that bad. They're just completely overdoing it with these accent lights, and I really don't understand why, but the result is less than pleasing to look at. And the 2020 Blazer, that's yet another Chevy that's going to have an immensely oversized grille, as well as tiny-ass headlights. I'm really not sure where Chevy has been going with this whole giant grille thing. Like, their grills have been getting bigger and bigger over the years, but they seem to have officially reached a peak, at least as of now. Watch, I guarantee you by 2024, Chevys are just going to be one giant grille. They're going to make as much as the front end a grille as they legally can. Just going to be one big grille with lights on it. That's it. Grills have been getting bigger and bigger in the car industry over the years. Like, Acura and Lexus have significantly increased the size of the grills on their cars, but they still look like cars. Like, Chevy, you need to chill with the grills. You're a car company, not Lil Yachty. People have also been starting to render up what the 2020 Cadillac Escalade might look like, and that's also pretty rough. In my opinion, GM has not made the best looking cars over the past 10 to 15 years. They seem like they've been kind of trying to take on like a somewhat of a retro design of their cars from the 60s, and they just haven't really been pulling it off. Now, again, I'm kind of biased against General Motors with the exception of the Corvette. Obviously, the Corvette is just a fantastic car. My family's had GM cars, and I've known a lot of people with GM cars, and they've all just been crap. I do tend to throw a little more shade to GM than I would most other car manufacturers. Alright, so that's all I have to say for this video. If you are a GM fan, I hope I didn't offend you too much. I just had to talk about this. Like, I know I'm probably like 6 days or so late, but I needed to make a video on this. It just had to be done. I genuinely fear the aesthetic route that General Motors might be taking with their cars. I'm sure the designers have their reasons for making them look like this, but I would really like to know those reasons. But I'm sure as more of this kind of stuff unfolds, I will be talking about it. But until then, I will see you guys next week. So have yourself a fantastic day.